Hi everyone, it's Chris here with a recorded briefing for you on assessment number 2. This recording is a resource for you to use and watch maybe more than one time to get clear on what you have to do for assessment 2. This recording also supplements the work we are doing in class for over the 3 weeks prior to this assessment due date on preparation for this assessment. So there's plenty of support for you, and here is another piece of support that you can use in preparing assessment 2, which I don't think is a hard assessment whatsoever. So this assessment is worth 35 marks. Please get as many marks as you can, and the due date for this is the 1st of May 2020, 11:59 p.m. I do apply the late penalties, so get it in on time. That would be fantastic. Okay, let's go. First thing is that this is a case study, and you need to read the case and answer the questions. It's as simple as that. The case study is found, there's a link to the case study on the Interact 2 site in the left-hand menu. However, the case comes from Chapter 5 of the textbook. It's available as an e-book through the CSU library. Just type in the title and you'll come up with it. I've been using the e-book from the CSU library in preparing my classes with you, and it's okay. The textbook is also therefore a reference for this this assessment. That's one of the 10 that you can use, or that you should use, because the chapter 5 is the chapter relating to the topic on motivation, which this case is based in. So that's a resource to use and to reference correctly. Now, there's 5 questions at the end of the case which you need to answer. They're not hard questions. It's based on topic 3. Topic 3 is all the sort of commentary on topic 3, the resources, and the slides are available on the Interact 2 site in resources and in topics, which is great. And so finally, a minimum of 10 scholarly references, 2 references per question. And by now you should know how to find scholarly references. I will put up and some resources on doing that, some videos from the library, which may be of help if you've forgotten how to find scholarly references. You can use Google Scholar, and you can use the databases on the CSU library online to find references on motivation. Okay, so that's the beginning. Well, the first thing I would advise you to do, of course, is to read the case. It's a short case. It's only 1 page, really, and 1 page and 1 paragraph or something, but essentially a page. And you need to get to know the story, and you need to get a little bit familiar with the story. And so here are some questions that I think if you can make notes around these will help you to get to grips with what the case is about. And the starting point is, where is this case set? I mean, is it set in a circus? Is it set in a school? Is it set in a cafe? No. So where is it set? What is the name of the company, and who are the main characters? Well, clearly one of the main characters is the academics or the teachers employed in this college, and it is a college, but there are some other characters. Who are these people? So that's good to know, because that helps you to start to lock in your mind what the case is about. The third point, and this is really important, is to kind of make almost like a timeline to track the events in the case, because basically there is event, response, event, response, event, response. That's the kind of logic of the case. You know, management does something, then people react. Then people react, management does something, people react. Management does something, people react. So make it like a timeline of those events that are in the case, because that will help you to answer the questions. Then you start to interpret the case by asking yourself, what are the problems? Well, clearly the problems in the case relate to the behavior of management and the behavior of the academics, and the central theme is about motivation and how the events of the case impact the motivation of the staff. We don't know anything about the motivation of the management, not very much, and that's because the main focus of this case is about the academics and how their motivation shifts and changes during the course of the case. Then my next question is, why do these problems occur? What is that? Well, clearly they occur because of what management is doing, but what is it that management is doing that are causing, or that is causing the motivation of the staff to shift and change and go up and down? Well, mainly down. So that doesn't need a lot of writing, just some notes on that. This is all preparation for answering the questions, and then finally what is happening at the end of the case, like who is doing what to whom at the end of the case. Now, in this case, you have 5 questions to answer, whether you're working as a group or whether you're working alone. And as you know, that's okay, either. And so these questions kind of follow from the previous slide where I sort of helped you to interpret and deconstruct the case. And so my advice is to make some dot point notes for each one of these questions, then start writing. Remember, you need 2 sources for each answer, 2 scholarly sources, and of course the scholarly sources are going to relate to motivation. Maybe motivation in education institutions, maybe motivation and academic staff. These are search terms. Maybe expectancy theory and academic staff or higher education. These are some of the search terms you'll use. So that's my suggestion on how to answer these questions. Make some dot points, maybe 3 or 4, 2 or 3 for each question, and then write. And remember, you have a target of 500 words per question. Now, that's a maximum. You can write a little less, you can write a little more if you like, but that's the ballpark you're working with, 500 words per question. Now, the way you write this is that the references need to be shown both within the answer to each question, in-text citations, and also in a list of references on a new page at the end of the paper. Now here's the guidance that's been provided for us on how to present your work. So the first thing to do is to start with a clean title page showing the name, your student ID, the subject code, and subject title, I guess, as well, and the number of words in your paper, excluding the reference list. So that's the first thing, your title page. And the second thing is that the whole paper should be written in 12-point font. Doesn't matter which font, Arial or Calibri or Times New Roman, one of those common fonts, with 1.5 line spacing and page numbers included. You can put them top right, bottom right, whatever you want, but include page numbers. And the presentation criteria, the marking criteria, it does include these kinds of details. Have you complied with the instructions about the font size and the line spacing and the page numbers? So approximately 500 words per question, a little under, a little over is okay. Normally 10% is the margin. And you don't need an introduction and you don't need a conclusion. So essentially what you do is you type the question, type the answer. Type the question, type the answer. Or just like that for 5 questions. So question and answer format with sentences and paragraphs, please. Just like you would in an essay. Then we say, in preparing your work, please edit and proofread things like the correct referencing format, correct structure of sentences, correct structure of a paragraph, spelling, grammar. All that stuff is part of the marking that we do in all of these kind of papers. You need to upload a Word document, and only a Word document, not pages or PDFs or anything like that. And finally, pay attention to paraphrasing. So don't copy bits of text or blocks of text from a source. If you are going to use a source, which of course you're going to reference, you do need to try to paraphrase, put it in your own words, and include a citation at the end. So a reminder, minimum of 2 scholarly sources per answer. So that means a total of 10. And again, a reminder, because so many people don't do this or don't do this correctly, you do need in-text citations for right through the paper, and you need a list of references in correct APA 7 format on a separate page with the heading references right at the end of the paper. Now, here's some words for people who are working in a group. It can be great or it can be difficult. So the first thing is that you need to get together early. And at the time I'm recording this presentation, which is about mid-April, you have about 3 weeks to go. So definitely by now you should be, if you're working in a group, decided, made contact with each other, and the first thing to do is to allocate the questions. So question 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, depending on your group size, you can decide how many questions per person. Remember that some people may answer only one question, but they may have another task to collate all the questions and answers, do any sort of general editing that's needed so the whole thing flows. So that's like an additional task. And so that person, and maybe submitting the work as well, that person may only do one question, whereas somebody else in the group may do 2 questions because that's all they're doing. So you can sort of work out how to come up with a reasonable and fair allocation of work across the team members. The third thing is, please allow enough time to collate and submit. So this due date is the 1st of May. So maybe 1 or 2 days before or something like that, all the work needs to be completed and sent to whoever's going to be the final editor and submitter. And so allow enough time to do that. Don't leave it till the last moment because it's going to make the overall product compromised. So someone, as I said earlier, someone needs to have, I would say one person needs to review and collate everything, but you might have more than one person. And then a question mark on whether or not you leave that person to do everything and bring it together and then submit it, or whether you say the person, will collate and then send it back to the group for a final review. That's a step that you may or may not want to take. One person, please note this, if you're working in a group, only one person needs to upload the work to turn it in for the whole group. Of course, that's based on the fact that your title page will have the group members' names on it, because everybody gets the same marks, so the marks will be distributed evenly. However, if I don't know who's in the group, I can't allocate the marks to everybody, can I? So please, one person to upload, but making sure that all group names are on the front page. So that's some guidance on working in a group. And here is the summary of your marking criteria. Now, as you know by now, every assignment has the marking criteria provided to you in the subject outline. So this is what I use when I'm marking your work. This is what I'm looking for when I'm marking your work. Finally, I won't go through all of these, but in this presentation, and you can pause this and have a look, here are some points to think about and do something about, all of them or some of them if you feel that there are issues. For example, dividing work according to strengths. You might want to talk about that in the group when you're making a decision about who does what. So have a look and you can decide. This is kind of really for your information on things to consider when you're working in a group. There is an academic referencing tool that will help you with APA referencing. There is also a guide to APA referencing 7 that you'll find on the Interact2 site in resources. Finally, quick reminder, one person submits on behalf of the group if you're working in a group. If you're not, then of course you upload your own work. Extensions limited for this, but if you have circumstances, short extensions may be possible. Don't leave it till the last minute, because I don't work on weekends as a matter of course. I think that's all. Please ask any questions